Okay, well, Sally, we want to introduce. This is Rabbi Chaim Walkin and Sally Ganor.
Shalom. Old friends meeting.
Alit Bishavit. Alit back. From Kodne.
And Riverton, this is Riverton.
That's your wife?
It's
That's Bali. וזה בעלי.
and
כן,
this is
אני
Paula.
מתארת לעצמי, זה הבית שלכם, לא? שלום, שלום.
Wow. Okay, where should we sit?
She's crazy, but where is your wife?
Lucy couldn't come, but she sends all her love. Wow, this is so nice. Should we take a seat?
Huh?
Where should we sit?
I think we sit at a table. You would drink something, no?
Ja, mijn ouderen van Wilde. Mijn man is geboren in Raten.
איפה שתגידי.
גבולות חיים.
איפה שתגידי.
Raten is geboren.
איזה יפה.
Wilde. Wilde Raten.
ברצינות.
Niet wat toen komen.
וואו.
We zitten op de Gobbertscheid. We zitten in Pinsk. Ja, Pinsk. Ja, mijn tata is eigenlijk van dat. Lernen Minsk. Zeg ik wel. Niet waar. Niet waar. We zijn Amerikanen.
Oh, sorry.
Nog gaan we gelijk in New York.
It's wonderful. It's so wonderful.
קו כאן חיים.
Reisje is...
כן, בואו.
לא, אני מסתכל.
Watch your foot, watch your foot.
Okay, should we sit
By the table.
by the table? Okay.
זה אפשר לסגור?
בדרך.
בדרך זה גם טוב. אפשר לשבת פה? כן, כן, איפה ש...
Okay, and maybe in English?
I think you should sit
yeah,
with
in
the
English.
armchair. אפשר
Okay.
פה?
Sally, Rabbi Walkin is fluent in English as well. He can speak in English, in Yiddish, very well. So Rabbi Walkin was born in Shanghai. He was the Rabbi was born in Shanghai.
He was born in Shanghai.
In Shanghai,
That's something else.
and his father was his grandfather was the chief rabbi in Pinsk, and his
Pinsk. Yes, my father was born in that area.
Your father was in Pinsk as well.
No, near.
Near. Wow. Rav, it's Landsman. Solly's grandfather was born
Yes.
near Pinsk. Solly's father as well.
When they, yeah.
My father was born in...
You have to speak up a little bit.
Yes.
I can't hear you.
That's all
Benny
bad.
Fisher.
Huh?
Rabbi Giel Fisher. Knew you well.
Benny
Benny
Fisher.
Benny Fishoff.
Bishop.
Fisher.
Bernie Fishoff.
Benny Fisher.
Benny.
He was in Shanghai. Look at this painting,
Bishop.
Chaim.
Bishop was from Chicago, no?
Fisher.
He was from Chicago.
No, no.
He lived out
Chicago,
in...
then Nickman. Nickmanovich. Rogo.
Bring the stand.
But this is a drawing? צייר את זה?
Yeah.
האח שלו היה פה, והוא הביא את זה מתנה.
יפה מאוד.
יש לנו ספרים שלו. שבו חבר'ה, קחו
יש לך מטבח יפה.
תודה. אנחנו פה כבר 5 שנים, היינו קודם בקצריה.
בהרצליה.
אבל כאן יותר נוח.
Okay.
יפה מאוד, והציורים.
So Solly, with Rabbi Walkin,
ראיתי את
left.
התמונה הזו.
Rab, you left Shanghai at the age of 2. How old were you when you left Shanghai?
17 months.
17 months. But you were born in Shanghai.
Your parents came to Shanghai from Vilna.
With the Mir.
To Sugihara.
Yeah.
And they had the Sugihara visa. Your parents had a Sugihara visa.
Yeah, so did we.
And
But you didn't use them.
They couldn't.
Too late.
Oh, that was that problem.
I just read the book about, with your story.
This is in Japanese.
Where's my
That's
phone?
there. That's in German. That's the same picture that is there on the wall.
can you hold
See?
for a second?
The under
Das
11
andere
German.
Leben. Yeah, I saw this picture. This is Sally. This is Sally.
Yes,
This little boy.
my granddaughter.
that picture is in Yad Vashem.
Yeah.
That was from George
Kadoshin.
Kadushin.
And here, this is the book in Japanese.
Which book is it?
He's the guy that says sorry.
That's my book in Japanese.
So who is this fellow? Who is this
That's
soldier?
that soldier saved my life in Germany.
Germany.
After the war.
No, the end of the war.
At the end of the war.
Yeah.
And the
They
Japanese.
were Japanese
soldiers.
A
American soldiers.
Japanese-American
American.
soldier. Yeah. Revived you.
Yeah, he was lying.
No,
you
he
know.
pulled me out of the snow and brought me back to life.
That was 1950, no?
No.
About 9:45.
45.
It was on 2nd of May,
Yeah.
45.
You were in Kaufering.
I was in Calcutta.
My father also.
Really?
At the end of the war.
Yeah, well, he too.
No, I was there for 10 months.
That, at the end of the war?
And then,
And this
My
is
father also.
the same
where was
book.
your father from?
And
My father was from
the book
Poland.
is-
Yes.
This is the same thing in the
And
book.
he went through 13
Japanese.
camps. He was
Japanese.
13 years
But
old when the
in
war
the
broke
end,
out
they
in
didn't
1939.
make it in the
Yeah.
end.
And he was in Auschwitz. He was one after the other. And the last one was Kaufering.
Yeah.
And he was liberated near Innsbruck.
What do you
Near
like to
Innsbruck
drink?
in Austria.
He was probably on the death march.
You like
I was on a
green
train.
tea or regular tea?
Because I was in the death march from Dachau.
Regular tea?
Kaufering was a sub-camp of Dachau. I have a book I'm
You
going to
want
give
it in a
you.
glass? Okay.
And Sally, you knew Viktor Frankl.
Frankl, yeah.
Victor Frankl.
That's in the camp.
From the camp, you knew him.
Yeah.
Like this? That's okay? Okay.
This was my father's memoirs. And he has pictures here of, like my son found pictures of Kaufering and of, whatever. Well, I'll show it to you soon.
Okay.
After we talk about
Yeah.
Sugihara.
Did you see that book from Sugihara?
We have it. We have it.
A picture in
Yes. And we saw the movie of,
it? Look.
which one?
Look. The persona non grata.
Persona non grata, Heidi showed it. Yes, yes, recently. It came out recently.
Yeah, I know. The director contacted me.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
My husband's sister in America,
Yeah.
in Chicago, he also contacted her and he gave her the movie. And she does Holocaust and Shanghai. She teaches in schools. They invite her to speak and all about Shanghai. And she was 12 years old when they left Shanghai. And when she was there from the age of 6, she left. They went to Japan. They were in Japan for 8 months, and then Shanghai, and she was a girl growing up there.
And they left for the States.
For the States. Actually, you were supposed to be on the boat going to Israel.
Yeah, many came to Israel.
So what happened?
When I was cooking water, he came down with
Dysentery and he was sick and he couldn't get on the boat. So he had to wait for the next boat, and that boat was for America.
It's an amazing, and this is the memoirs of your...
Of my father, yeah. And he has here his
So it's amazing, hey? It's really incredible.
yeah, this is Kofri.
This is where...
My
You
father
remember?
had written that it was below,
Robertson, you can't...
it was the worst place on earth, Kofri. Of all the camps that he had been in, he said Kofri was nothing like it.
And you remember Salim?
Yes, of course.
How can one forget?
I was there not long ago, a few years ago, and I hoisted the Israeli flag on top of it.
Wow.
I have it in my computer.
This is amazing.
Yeah, this was my father. Here, all the documentation. Yeah. This was when he was a little boy, and this is when he was liberated. The one in the middle is my father.
I see. Oh, handsome looking boy.
He was.
But if we can, maybe you can bring it a bit closer. Is it difficult?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And Robertson, if that's one day,
What?
you could come in a bit closer.
There were two American soldiers that were in Shanghai, two Jewish. Rosen.
Rosen?
Yeah.
Something.
Let's see. Well, but they weren't. Sally never got to Shanghai.
Movie crazy. יש כאן כוסות ויש כאן
And Rav Shapira, you know from Governor? Rav Shapira.
Shapira from painting. I
The Governor
knew him.
Rav.
He was in Kovner ghetto with me. I knew him. He was a friend of my father's.
אתה ב10 שנים מבוגר מהרבי.
20 שנה.
יותר.
He's 91.
17 שנה.
70.
73 עוד כמה חודשים.
And you look like 55. נכון?
Polly, you also look amazing. Baruch Hashem, you also look amazing,
And
Polly.
Motto Pogramansky, you remember from Governor? Pogramansky.
Polly.
Pogramansky.
מה פתאום?
Builder in Governor
חלק
Ghetto.
מה...
Pogramansky. P. Pogramansky.
Pogromansky.
Romansky.
Pogromansky. Pogromansky.
In Kovner ghetto.
Let's see.
Tzaddik, a big tzaddik.
Maybe put it on the side.
Yeah,
I'm
und
just
der
gonna-
heilige Shapiro.
Ik ben de Rav, he was the Rav of Governor.
Yeah.
Avram Duber.
זה בזכות סוגihara הוא הגיע לשם.
The movie.
יצא, לא,
The movie.
הוא היה בבטן.
The movie.
הוא נולד שם.
Robertson, I'm just going to show
This
this is
is-
the picture. Rabbi, if you can see, this is Sunny.
Yes, in Kovner ghetto.
עם ההורים שלו.
Yes.
הם הגיעו גם כן מליטא.
You painted it?
No, my,
בווילנה נראה לי הם היו.
sister, my daughter-in-law.
And in the one book,
It was in the book.
this is the original.
שנה.
Yeah, the little boy. The boy.
He gave you money to buy candy.
אוקיי.
Sugihara.
Yeah.
And this is the original picture. This picture is in Yad Vashem,
Yes.
and George Kadashin took it.
Yes.
This,
quite
see, this is a painting.
And here's the
A
picture.
painting of this picture. Chaim, look.
Chaim, if you can, Rabbi, if you can see.
כן.
And this book is in the German schools.
The German school. was adopted by the German president.
Oh, come
It started,
You wrote the book? You wrote it?
I wrote it. Yes, the same one as my English book. It's a translation.
This is the book. I must get you a copy where Nancy Pelosi writes in the back of the book.
It's a translation from English into German.
היא לא הייתה חיה מפני סורי, אתה קראת את הספר שלו? לא.
Robertson, I've got a copy. I'll get you a copy of it.
גרמני, אתה קורא? גרמני אתה
No,
קורא?
I'll give it.
ויד ושם, עכשיו עושים סרט על סורי ביום כבר פעם.
This book
Set, but yeah.
is one of the.
What,
ספר,
what is
אבל
it?
זה לא ביזנס כנראה.
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List.
Love
הם לא רצו לשלם.
Each page is like it's a masterpiece. Each page is more difficult than the next. It's the whole story of the Shoah from a
It's
personal.
very hard to read.
It's extremely hard to read. Sorry, this was it was very hard to read, but it was unbelievable. Whoever's read it, they cannot believe what a most amazing book it is.
Look at that, somebody
Lager
else. I
7.
want you to show you.
מבשרת.
Who is that? Look.
She's the speaker, she was the speaker of the house.
זה זית.
She,
מוצא.
It's Nancy Pelosi.
yeah, Nancy Pelosi.
How did you meet her, Sally?
Huh?
How did you meet Nancy Pelosi?
I was lived in San Diego at the time.
זה ילדים שלך?
And she was a representative of California
איך קוראים להם?
at the time before she became the Speaker of the House.
Mhm.
And you knew her personally?
I met her, yeah, and she read my book, so
איך
she
קוראים לו אבל?
recommended it.
שם משפחה שלהם?
How long did you live in California for?
7 years,
How long ago?
from 77 to 84.
Her name is Abigail.
And before 77 you were in Israel? You came to Israel?
I came here in 48 to
48.
join the army. San Diego is a beautiful place. Beautiful. San Diego, yeah. I like it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what is the name where she lives in the Pashat Sipora? Abigail.
Ah, she lives in near
ביתר עילית, לא?
Beitar.
Beitar Illit.
Yeah.
אבל דודה שלי.
Did you show her a picture?
הייתה גרה חיה באמריקה.
איך
I'll
קוראים
bring the
לה?
picture.
Abigail.
בגאיה מה?
באה לארץ, עשו לה שידוך,
Here's the
ועכשיו
picture.
יש לה 10 בלי נדר, 10 ילדים.
10 ילדים. איך המשפחה, מאיפה הם באו?
היא,
מארצות
בדודה
הברית.
שלי,
מאיפה היא באה? מאיפה
מסן
בארצות?
דייגו, בקליפורניה.
סן דייגו.
And they live now in Beitar Illit.
Now they live in
כן,
Beitar.
עכשיו
Yeshiva,
הם גרים.
Yeshiva people. They from Mir Yeshiva.
And your nephew learnt in the Mir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wanted Sari to come and visit. We were in the Mir Yeshiva with Mrs. Sugihara,
Oh yeah?
and they let her inside. I had to wait outside, but Sari went in. We have a movie of it. You took a
Yeah, I
movie.
gave it
You
to
made a
Max.
copy of it, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie of Mrs. Sugihara in Mir Yeshiva in Jerusalem.
Because he saved all
And
those
the
Lithuanians that went to the Mir Yeshiva.
yeah, the chief rabbi was crying, you know. I
Would
was
you
so
like to-
What
excited.
year was this? How long
That
ago?
was in 94, I think.
1994.
Yeah.
Who was the Rosh Yeshiva then? Reb Nosson
Walkin.
Tzvi?
Nosson
Reb
Tzvi.
Nosson Tzvi?
Yeah.
In 1994?
He was a Shiva, no?
Nosson Tzvi Finkel.
In 1994. When was Rabbinish? When did
Yeah.
Rabbinish
I
pass
did my
away?
show.
In the 80s.
And Sally, can we just ask you, when you saw Sugihara for the first time in your aunt Anushka's confectionery shop,
Yeah.
what did you see special in his eyes?
Well, he had a smile, And he had very kind eyes. He looked at me sort of, and he actually gave me his hand, you know. I felt a rapport with him, so to say. And then she gave me the money, my aunt. He also gave me money, he said, I'll be your Japanese uncle.
And he came to the Hanukkah party, it's in the book.
Yes.
And then you invited him to Hanukkah.
Yeah, because he said he was my uncle. So if you're my uncle, come to our party.
Wow. And the lady who came knocking on your door to ask for to help the Yidden who had come from Poland, and you gave your Hanukkah geld.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have given your Hanukkah geld, you wouldn't have.
I wouldn't go to my uncle.
You wouldn't have gone to your aunt for.
It's all the coincidences.
It's Min HaShamayim. It's all Min HaShamayim.
We see one might the chesed can do.
One little bit of chesed of giving tzedakah, your Hanukkah geld to help the Yidden.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, Harab. It's unbelievable.
What's in the day?
Yeah,
before?
life
It changed Jewish history. It really
Life
did.
is full of surprises.
All the Torah that is in the world today is from Shanghai.
Oh,
Meaning all the Torah that is being studied today
yeah.
is from Shanghai. The Rosh Hashidah, Eddie Chatzke Levenstein, Chaim Shmulevitz, Nachem, Shmuel Birnbaum, all over the world went to Shanghai.
There's also Mir Yeshiva in Brooklyn.
Shmuel Birnbaum.
Sure.
And Shanghai is Sugihara, and Sugihara is Toli.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
and sorry, you know what's amazing is the Rab's sister heard about your story. Rebbetzin, will you just mention more what the Rab's sister? She's 84, Kenan Horan, and Rebbetzin, you must mention what she does, because it's unbelievable.
So, my husband's sister was 6 years old when they left Poland, the family, father, mother, and 3 children, and they came to Japan. And they lived in Japan for about 8 months. She went to school in Japan, in Kobe.
Kobe.
Yeah. And then when they came to Shanghai, she experienced the entire Shanghai experience as a child of 7, 8, not until the age of 12. And actually she just had her story written in a new book, and it just came out, and she describes the whole experience that the family went through and how they lived in Shanghai in the community of the yeshiva community. But what's most interesting, over the last 4 or 5 years, she's been very involved in talking about the Shanghai experience, how the survival of the Jews and the yeshiva in Shanghai, and she's invited to speak in schools, in universities. Yad Vashem has a program in Chicago. She lives in Chicago, and to educate groups of students about Shanghai. Very, very involved with it. And she said to me the other week, just a week ago, I speak to her very, very often. And she said to me a week ago, she says, the children, the students that I speak to, they come from a secular background. They're conservative Jews. She said, I feel how important it is to give this over even to these young people. She says, and she said to me, look at the story with Sally Ganor, she said. She said to me last week, look at the story with Sally Ganor. You never know. A little boy going to the candy store, inviting Sugihara to come to the Hanukkah party. From that experience, from that one act, look how many Jews were saved. The whole Torah world was
Yeah.
saved from that one act.
I know.
Maybe one act of mine with one of these students, who knows where
Yes.
this is going to take.
That's what I told you, that the brother of Sugihara came last year to Netanya. They invited some people that survived, that still live. There was a woman of 90-something.
Survivors in Netanya.
Yeah.
From
And she was
Yeah.
very old.
What's her name? Is she written? Is her name known?
I don't
What is her
remember.
name?
Oh,
She's
God,
very
I
old.
don't know.
You don't know? Yeah.
But she said because of me.
Because of you. Yes.
Oh, that's
She
a
said-
little exaggerated.
Yeah, it's not exaggerated. It is not
Yeah, that's what she
exaggerated.
said. It's because of sorry. Well,
Yes.
it's true. Because he.
Could you imagine?
They say in Hebrew, חיים במוות על קצה הלשון.
יד הלשון.
From one
Yeah.
little act of kindness, and like you say, and you said, Dr. Glassman, from giving that tzedakah to the lady at the door who came to collect, you went from that to the candy store, the confection store, and your aunt and Mr. Sugihara, one act led to all that.
I have also been lecturing many places. Besides the book, there's also an exhibition
Yeah.
based on my book.
All
Really?
over.
Where is this?
In
It
Canada.
goes all over the world.
Where is it today?
Today is in Dachau.
In Dachau.
Yeah. And
Not
the
An exhibition of what? What is it?
exhibition of the pictures of somebody took in the ghetto
Mhm.
pictures.
Yeah.
There's a
Like on this,
Kaddush,
like on this cover?
That's
a
right.
Kaddushi.
Kalush.
And
Yeah.
at the end, the Kedushin died in Miami
Yeah.
and gave his pictures to the Wiesenthal Center.
To the Wiesenthal. Simon
Wiesenthal.
Wiesenthal, yeah.
And I know Rabbi Cooper and Haya.
Marvin Heyer. We just
Yeah.
read his
And they
his
said, they
memoir.
read my book and they said, hey, the pictures are fitting your book, you know.
Yeah,
Why don't we make an exhibition?
beautiful.
So there's an exhibition called the Light One Candle.
Light one candle.
And it was in Vancouver, in Toronto, in New York.
Marvin Heyer was a rabbi in Vancouver for many years
That's
before he
right.
opened the Wiesenthal
That's right.
Center. But speaking of exhibition, there's a new museum, a new Holocaust educational center that was started a few years ago in Brooklyn, New York.
In Brooklyn.
And this was where my husband's sister, Rabbi Chaya Small, had her book signing ceremony about her book about Shanghai. This was in April. We were there, and they have a small exhibition this year from September till September of the Shanghai experience. So we had given them one item that we had. My sister-in-law, Everton Small, gave a few items that she had, Chinese things, and we gave, when my husband was born in Shanghai, he received a gift of a little silver
Becher.
becher, gavia,
Becher.
with his name on it, and it's a Chinese. It was in my mother-in-law's home all these years. After she passed away, we had it. So we have, it's part of the exhibition. It was a gift in Shanghai.
Yeah, the exhibition was very important because it was, millions of people saw it because the pictures were not only from Kadushin but also from the family of Sugihara gave pictures, and the pictures from the American, Japanese soldiers who saved us. They also had pictures.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the
Light one candle.
this is
Yeah,
the-
that's my
Study
book.
guide.
They did in
Really?
Vancouver.
and study with the picture of the
Who are these
boys.
children here?
These are the children that I made a promise to them if I survive, I will write a book.
These are
These are the
children that you knew in
Kovna Ghetto.
Kovno Ghetto.
Yeah.
Did they survive?
No.
No.
They were murdered in March
Ay, ay, ay,
1944.
ay, ay.
That's why I wrote the book, actually. I made a promise.
Vancouver Holocaust Education Center.
Ask the rabbi from Poland, where his parents were from Poland.
Not
Chaim, they want to know where your parents were from Poland.
Pinsk, no?
My mother was born in Radin,
Radin.
the city of the Chofetz Chaim.
Mm-hmm. She's from Lodz.
Lodz?
Grandfather.
My mother's from Lodz, my grandfather was from Lodz.
What street, you know?
What street?
Piotrkowska, that was the main street.
Yeah?
I know one thing.
I
My
have
grandfather told me that the Mir Yeshiva told him he was Huniher B'Sefer V'Lodz. The Mir Yeshiva told him, if you see in the newspapers that Mir Yeshiva are not taking new students, we make nicht eine Lodger. Schick people you.
My grandfather was an educator in Lodz. He had a yeshiva, a school.
In Lodz?
In
Torah
Lodz.
Chesed.
Torah.
Torah Chesed.
And he,
Sender Diskin, the biggest beer in Lodz.
yeah.
My grandfather was very Orthodox, so he came to Israel before the war,
Yeah, my grandfather
in
too.
35.
Okay, my grandfather came in
They
34.
possibly came, and they went to Jerusalem, and he bought a house in
What was his name?
Heber,
Heba.
Bedres. They had wool shops in business on the Novomiejska. And then was so hot that he died.
It was too hot.
In 1935, it was
Died in
very
Israel.
hot in Jerusalem.
Uh,
So grandmother wanted to go back to Poland,
to Poland.
but the oldest son took her back to Poland because we still were in Poland during the war. And she died, obviously, but the money that he left grandfather was enough to give to each of the children. He had 5 children. One stayed in Poland and died, and the other 4, we left Poland during the war. Italy was near the war, so we came to Italy. From Italy, we had to get a permit to come to Palestine. You need an affidavit. So because the grandfather left money to the children, we had money to show that each one had money.
Mm-hmm.
So we got an affidavit, and
They
it's a long story.
They came to in the war. They came to
Israel.
because they
Palestine.
It was not so
The family
simple.
had
I
money.
know, I
It
know.
was, we got a ship in Italy in the last day.
Wow.
And we didn't know the Italians started the war yet. We were already almost in Alexandria when they turned around at night and tried to go back to Rhodes.
Uh-huh.
And the British caught them
Mhm.
and took the ship to Malta.
To Malta.
We were sitting on Malta 2 months on the ship, and there was all the air raids.
Yeah, the Germans are bombing Malta.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, what year was this?
That was 1940.
94.
1940.
At the end, the British gave us a convoy and we came to Cantara, okay. I think it was Cantara. To Suez and this and
Yeah,
that.
there was Nissim many places.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And here I am 91. And my
Wow.
daughter,
Ganor.
unfortunately, 50 years old, died of some
50 years old.
cancer.
Yeah.
So
And
that,
later that the Germans and the Russians let it go, also a miracle.
yeah.
We're through
Later, they made it an independent.
yeah.
In Vilna. Vilna was
Everything is
independent.
orchestrated
Yeah,
from
Ra-
above.
Vilna was an independent
You
city.
know that Sugihara has something to do with the Russian visas? Why
Yes.
the Russians are allowed to...
Yes, I read about it in the book. In what's it called? The book that I read it last night.
Why
Yesterday.
don't you have something to drink?
I shall. I will.
You
Thank
want
you.
tea? I can
No, I'm
make
gonna
you
take
tea.
water. I prefer water. Thank you.
And Sadi, did you meet anyone from Wahavtik? Zorak Wahavtik?
I met him in Jerusalem.
You met Zorak
I,
Wahavtik
I was in his house.
in Zorak's house.
Yeah, when Mrs. Sugihara came here, we went together with the Wahavtik to they wanted to show it to the Yad Vashem.
And you were there with?
Yeah.
I went with them, yeah.
Wow.
We have picture. I think you have the picture of them walking there
But Hafnik was,
in Jerusalem.
I remember him in Lithuania.
Yeah.
Boy, he
Really?
was a handsome man, I tell you that.
He told them all to leave, but they didn't listen.
But Hafnik was in
This
charge
is my-
of the Mizrahi.
Yeah, he was Mizrahi.
Mizrahi.
And he told him to leave. He told the Rosh Yeshiva and...
He ran away from Poland and came to Lithuania.
Yeah.
And he
My
was among the
grandfather
first that went
on
to
the ship
Sugihara.
coming to Israel.
He was the one that asked Sugihara for the visas. He was in the...
Yeah, he was among those who went to Sugihara.
Yeah.
Boys
People,
have some
people
kids.
they want to know the exact story of how it was, like the Hanukkah party and how you met Sugihara. They want to hear from you the exact meister.
Yeah. And you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Well,
לא שמעת. עם הזקן באמצע.
It was.
זה על האונייה בדרך לארץ.
זה לא אבא שלו. אריאל.
סבא שלי, אבא של אימא שלי.
Okay.
Well, it was Hanukkah 1939. It was, Lithuania was not in the war yet, but the Germans already invaded Poland. And many Polish Jews were killed already in the beginning. So many ran across the border, those who were near Lithuania, ran across the border to Lithuania. And many of them came to stay with the Jewish people who received them in their houses. And so did we. We had a father and a daughter called Rosenthal. And they received the visa later and they were saved by Sugihara. And what happened was that in Hanukkah, because of the refugees, the ladies came to collect money for the refugees. So on the impulse, I gave all my Hanukkah money to the ladies. I was left without money, wanted to go to a movie to see Laurel and Hardy. And I had no money left. So I thought my aunt Anushka, she had a shop that was selling to diplomats, and among them was Sugihara. And I walked to her shop to ask for some money, Hanukkah money. I hoped that she wouldn't remember that she gave me already once. And there it was, Sugihara, in the beautiful suit. And I'd never seen a Japanese person with slant eyes. I was kind of gawking at him, and my aunt says, don't do that, it's not right. So she came over to me and he said, and he spoke Russian. He spoke perfect Russian, Sugihara. That's the language they use to communicate. And he said to me, so she brought me some money for Hanukkah money. So he took out some money and said, here is my contribution. Now here you have a festival called Hanukkah. And I said, well, I can't accept from not my family. So I said, so I'll be your uncle, Japanese uncle for this Hanukkah. He was a funny guy, you know. So I said, if you're my, sort of my impulse, I said, if you're my uncle, come to our Hanukkah party. And I thought, and my aunt was embarrassed, so it was this Japanese ambassador, and the 12-year-old boy invites him to a party. It was all very strange, you know, like, as if it was meant to be. And then he missed Sugihara and he came. And Hiroki, the son, also came. He was 5 years old. And he came to our party and they got acquainted with our songs, and everybody was surprised to see this handsome, well-dressed couple.
You remember the song, Solly? Doch Salanitim und ein Salanitim.
Yeah, we know
My
that
uncle was
they
singing.
used to sing it in our uncle's place. All this Zmiras.
Yeah.
Doch Salanitim und ein Salanitim und ein Salanitim. Und ein Salanitim.
Dank für die
Yeah.
Nissen.
Nissen,
בניסים, בעם הנפלאות שחגגנו. Yeah.
And Solly, you collected stamps, and Sugihara invited you to the consulate to get Japanese stamps?
Yes, yeah. I used to collect stamps. And we lived not far from the consulate in
Yeah.
Kaunas.
You've seen the house.
Yeah, I've been there.
You've been there, and they live not far from
I
you.
used to come to their house and I would get stamps.
You was collecting stamps
And Mrs. Sugihara would give me cookies
and stamps.
and stamps.
that's
That's
something.
right. Yeah, there was the Japanese ambassador who brought me the stamps. And I have it here, I think.
You have the stamp?
He brought me some stamps as a
You must get it.
show of what Sugihara did.
My wife said that it became today a shrine, his house in Kovna. People from all over the world come to see it.
And there's Japanese tourists. Every day there's busloads of Japanese. They come from all the way from Japan to Kovno to the consulate.
You know that the
His
Japanese...
book in Japanese was in the second edition as a pocket book.
Yeah.
The book
It's
is
so
over here.
popular now.
This book
Who
is already in the
translated
sixth
it?
edition.
Who translated it?
This book is in the sixth edition now.
This is the.
How much
These are the two Japanese books. One's in. This is the light one candle
In Japanese.
in Japanese. Robertson, I'll get you a copy. Yeah, it's.
That's the
And this
Please,
is-
thank you. And that's Chinese, no?
No,
Japanese.
Japanese.
And Japanese, they came from the school. School teachers came.
Yeah, they were here
Last month.
to get... Yeah, but 25 of them came to... They are instructing on the Holocaust in Japan. So they came to meet me, and they were here sitting all over the place.
Very interesting.
I had it
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I worked for many years in a place called Neve Yerushalayim in Yerushalayim. It's for girls, women. It's like for Judaic studies for women that are trying to, whoever wants to come could learn there. And I had a Chinese student, must have been about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, a Chinese student, a convert. And I was talking to her and I told her, I said, you know, my husband was born in China. So she says to me, really? You mean your husband was part of the group that came through Japan to Shanghai during the war? I go, yes. She goes, I grew up in China and we learned all about it in our history class as a Chinese girl growing up in China. The story was taught as part of the curriculum in the Chinese school system.
No, said it.
Yeah, history.
Yeah.
Because it took me quite a while to write it, because I wanted to stay away from it. When I came to Israel,
Yeah, and there was
I
a...
came with a group of Canadian volunteers.
Mhm.
So they wrote me down that I was born in Toronto, in in Canada,
Mhm.
Ottawa, Canada.
Mhm.
And people thought that I was a Canadian here,
Mhm.
and I was in the army.
Mhm.
And then my friend who survived came back and said, stop being a Canadian.
Go back to your roots.
Go back to roots.
So it's true that for many years people didn't talk about this,
That's right.
didn't discuss it. It's something that's coming up only over the last several years. For a long time, everybody was healing. It was healing. It was a time for healing.
What happened yet?
It was actually when the Japanese American soldiers came to Jerusalem to look for me in 1992. They wanted to see if some of those they saved are still alive.
Really? How did they find you? You weren't in
They put
Jerusalem.
the guy who bought them was called Eric Soul. He was an historian.
Yeah.
And he put an ad in the papers, in Jerusalem Post, and looking for me, people who were saved by American and Japanese soldiers. So I went up to Jerusalem,
Eat some fruits.
and I met up with them. And there was the guy who saved me.
These are good. And
No,
the
it's not
apples,
some
and
more.
you have a knife, you can eat.
Really?
It was quite an
Don't be bashful.
emotional meeting.
אתה לא עושה כיסא?
No, it's all good. You know what we heard? Say that before you met, you never could cry. After, and
That's
then
right.
the first time you could cry.
Yeah.
When you met him, you cried.
All the Japanese guys cried. All the soldiers. But
Sorry, what exactly happened in that Hanukkah party that changed the whole course of history? What exactly happened over there?
where?
In the Hanukkah party?
They came to
Ah,
They
No,
came to
yeah, but in the
ask
Hanukkah party, what happened that
What
became
happened?
so?
well, Sugihara actually wanted to get here and just moved from Finland.
From Finland.
He
He
was.
was in Finland, Sugihara. And he moved to Kaunas because he was also an intelligence officer.
Yeah,
It
he was
wasn't-
observing the
there
Russian
was no-
movements.
Not only the Russian, the Germans
His
from one
first wife
side,
was Russian.
the Germans from one side, Poles and the Russians. And he also had Polish spies who worked for him. People don't know about it.
Polish spies?
Yeah, Polish guy officers who were in Poland, conquered by the Germans,
Yeah.
but they were reporting to Sugihara what's going on with the
In
Germans.
Poland?
In Poland.
Really?
Yeah. That's why he advised my father to
To leave?
leave.
To leave.
He knew
But
what
his
was
father
going on.
wanted to sell the business.
Right.
Not right. My father didn't sell the business and
Left.
got out.
Just
Yeah,
left.
it was nothing.
But Paula, your father's brother remained. Your father's, the one brother remained in Poland.
My mother, my mother's brother,
Your mother's
my
brother.
father's whole family died.
Yeah. Where is he this month?
So here we have also, this is wonderful, this is three,
Yeah.
with Zachor and
This actually, this is the reason why I wrote the book, The Children. Because I promised them if I survive, I will tell the world their story. And that's in the Holocaust Education Week in Toronto.
You know,
those are the children.
Yeah.
And unfortunately they didn't survive.
They didn't survive, no, they were too small.
It is something.
תשתה משהו סויה, אתה כבר רואה.
And you see, this is part of this is in German,
Flucht in die Welt.
Flucht in die Welt. That's my story there too. Yeah.
And today in the news, the Germans said that they shouldn't come to Israel.
In the news today?
Yeah,
Why? Because of the
because
Iran
it's
story?
dangerous.
Because dangerous.
No, it was in May. Not the Germans, but the British.
English.
The British.
She was British, yeah, she was British, not German. The British.
Yeah. That's also from Vancouver.
The Germans would say the same.
School.
And sorry, how was it like meeting the German Chancellor when you met the German Chancellor?
Which chancellor?
In Germany, you met the German Chancellor?
The president.
The President.
What was his name?
And there were two presidents actually who became patrons of my book.
Wow.
And that's why the book is so well known in Germany, because they went to all the schools. You see, this book is now in the 6th edition.
6th edition?
Yeah.
But you don't read German.
No,
But it's very, very important for the Germans.
definitely.
It was very important. The children
In
of the
Germany.
third generation,
Yeah.
when I told them what was going on, they couldn't believe it, and nobody told them. You see,
Till a year, 2 years ago, Sonny and I were every year there, and he was going to schools and high school and talking.
Speaking.
yeah.
And now only one friend left. He was in Jerusalem, lighting the Mesron.
Yeah. I did my part. I kept
You
my,
did a major
I
part.
kept my promise for the children.
A major part.
It took me time to do it.
My husband is because of you.
It's
My
hard to-
husband and his family survived because of you.
It's hard to believe,
Wow.
you know.
Yes,
That's so emotional. Wow.
Well,
really.
Of course, of course.
And that's our
No doubt, no doubt whatsoever.
grandson in the army. He was in the army. And the granddaughter is in the university.
You should have a lot of nachat from all of your
Lange
family.
gesunde Jochen, sorry.
huh?
Lange gesunde Jochen.
Heute soll sein gesund. Alt in der Seite sein.
See? And he's Sonny's best friend. He's still alive, he's the same year, and he was in Jerusalem now. And that's his granddaughter.
אבא נאור נולד ב-1928 בליטא עם הנכדה.
That's
להיות
in
כאן עם אנשים בעלי אותו גורל זה יפה ומרגש. And who's this? Another one?
Yeah.
That's in Jerusalem in
In Yad Vashem.
Yad Vashem.
It was in Ideal.
They invited me, but I
And
couldn't
Sonny
go.
was going with him, and he went to school and Sonny to universities. Every year we are in Germany.
Yeah.
So this is what Chaiki, my sister-in-law,
What's it,
does
sorry?
today in Chicago. She's invited to speak about Shanghai and the survival of the Jews in Shanghai as a result of Sugihara and the whole story.
There's
And she
somebody-
always mentions you too.
Yeah. There's somebody who was very rich in Chicago was saved by
Melamed,
Lamed. A
Melamed.
huge family.
Leo Melamed, yes.
Somebody
She
else
has
has-
met him, and there's a foundation. It's the Spungen Foundation. They do a lot for memorializing Shanghai experience in the world today, in America.
Somebody called Fishman, no?
What's the name?
Fishman.
Fishoff.
Fishoff.
No, that's not in Chicago. No.
No, Fisher, but very rich man.
Fishoff is one person.
But you know Fishoff.
I had, yes. We saw him in the visitor center once.
In Wiesenthal Center, correct.
Yeah.
You know, there was a big ceremony of all the descendants of the Shanghai Jews in honor of Mr. Sugihara in New York City.
Yeah,
It was written up in the New York Times.
I was there.
You were there.
I spoke there.
You did.
It was, I remember, it was a stormy night.
Really?
It was raining cats and dogs.
Mr. Sugihara was there, or just his
She
wife?
was there,
His wife.
his wife.
He wasn't alive anymore, I
She
think.
wasn't alive.
Right.
That was in New York in the town hall.
Right. Sorry.
Moshe Zupnik.
Zupnik.
That was really strong.
Zupnik was in
He
he was working for Sugihara.
And Goods.
Goods. The German secretary, assistant.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. I just realized his name was something Goods, G-U-D-Z-E.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, in Lakewood, New Jersey, there is a street. It's a religious community. It's a big yeshiva in
Biggest
Lakewood.
in the world.
One of the biggest yeshivas in the world. And they have a whole city that they're all religious Jews
Yeah.
living there. And there's one street, God's Court, G-U-D-Z-E. I never knew what it's named for until I read it in the book again. I realized, oh, maybe that is connected.
Yeah, he was killed at the end.
He was killed at
He
the
was
end of
killed.
it?
They took him, the German army
Mhm,
took him back to the army and he was killed in Russia.
mhm.
God.
He said he doesn't hate Jews.
Yeah.
He was doing what he had to do in the army, but he doesn't
Yeah,
hate Jews.
but,
He helped write all those visas.
With Moshe Zupnik, they did it together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they sat
Yeah.
together.
The man in Denmark who saved all the Jewish community.
In Denmark or
In
in
Denmark, he was a German representative
Denmark?
with a swastika.
And he said-
he told the chief of police in Copenhagen
Mhm.
that they're going to collect all the Jews. So the chief of police warned the Jews, and I met the guy, actually the officer, a Danish officer living in San Francisco. I met him.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have this picture.
The picture, they helped to take the Jews on boats,
Really,
fishing boats.
really, really. All
to
these
Sweden.
untold stories. I recently, not too long ago, read a very interesting article. It was in the English media that the country was one country that did not cooperate at all with the Germans and refused to give over lists of the Jewish citizens. Albania.
Yeah, Albania, it's true. Albania.
Albania,
Bulgaria too.
really.
And they say in Portugal and Spain also.
Also.
Yeah, the Rabbi went through Lisbon. The Rabbi of Lubavitch.
In Poland, in Landshut, in the town of Poland, it's right near where Rabbi Elimelech of Lejensk is buried, right there. So there's a beautiful estate that the aristocratic family of the Ger Tzedek, Avram ben Avram, was a
Yeah.
but what's the name?
Potocki, the Graf
Potocki,
Potocki.
right.
He's
Graf
buried next to the
Potocki.
Gra. He's
He's
buried.
buried next to
I was
the
at the
Gra.
kibbeh in
Right?
Vilna.
So his family were from Poland, an aristocratic family from Landshut, and there was a huge estate. When the Germans invaded Poland and they wanted to round up the Jews from Landshut, his grandson or whoever it is that lived in that estate at the time refused to cooperate and refused to hand over the Jews. He protected
It's
them.
amazing.
The only place, I think, in Poland.
Yeah, there were some tzaddikim, but not too many.
Not too many.
Look, but we got saved because a German took over the Polish embassy and we didn't have passports to go to Italy. For money, he gave us passports. And that's how we could leave Poland
Right.
and not go to ghetto. But
My father, when he was liberated, he was at the end of his strength. He fainted
Yeah,
right after the
Yeah, like
liberation.
me.
Fainted. Who revived him? A German woman.
Yeah.
A German woman who saw him, came over, gave him something to drink and something to eat, and revived him. It's written in the book here.
But the Germans killed him. The
Oh,
the
really?
German killed the guy that gave us
That
the
helped
gospel.
you.
Wow.
He fulfilled his mission. That's it. He did what he did.
And Solly, can I ask, when you did the book launch with Mrs. Sugihara, when she had her book at Barnes & Noble, can you tell us a bit about it? That you did a book together with Mrs. Sugihara?
Yeah, we have a
We
book.
went, yeah, with the Iraqi, the son.
With
We
Hiroki.
went around together to give lectures on my book, and he
Yeah.
gave lectures on his mother's, this one.
Visas for Life.
And
Visas for Life.
And it was at Barnes & Noble. It was sold at Barnes
We
& Noble.
have a copy of this with her signature in it. A signed
I
copy
also
of this.
have, yeah, I have it somewhere.
he has another son that lives
In Belgium. In
Yeah.
Belgium.
in Belgium. Yeah.
And Solly, did you know the Dutch, Zwartendijk? Jan
Good
Zwa-
beer, good beer.
No, but there was a Jan Zwartendijk who gave the visas,
Non-Jew.
for
He was
Curaçao.
a diplomat. He was a Dutch
the,
diplomat.
the Dutch diplomat who gave the visas for Curaçao. Did you
Yeah,
ever meet him?
sure. He should get a lot of credit too,
'Cause he did.
because without him there wouldn't be any visas.
It was him and the Decker in
Because
Riga.
he gave end visas.
He
And
gave the
visas.
visas to go to Curaçao.
Even though
Curaçao.
Curaçao did
Yeah.
not need visa
Yeah.
to get into
But
Curaçao.
he gave.
Sugihara couldn't give visas, he could only give transit visas.
Yeah.
And the Dutch gave the entry
He gave
visas.
the end visas.
There was Jan Zwartendijk also. Very,
But
and
I read that Curaçao did not need visas to enter.
they
Yeah.
needed the governor had to give permission.
You had to give
And,
The
permission.
governor would have to give permission, otherwise they couldn't go.
And what was the reason that they didn't continue on to Curaçao?
They never intended to go there.
They never intended, just
And
to
you
get
know,
out.
you know, I read it was Zorak Verhaftig actually met with the governor of Curaçao, and he said, if we would have come to your island, would you have allowed us in? And he said, definitely not.
Not.
No.
You were in Curaçao years ago visiting, but really he wouldn't have let
He
you
wouldn't
in?
allow it.
No.
Yeah.
But even though it's a Dutch colony and the Dutch
Yeah.
would have,
The governor said,
Yeah,
I
it was
wouldn't
up
have
to the
allowed.
governor.
And he said, I wouldn't have allowed. It's amazing.
I think he changed something.
It was what Zorak Verhaftig said, you must leave out the sentence that you need the permission of the governor.
That's how
And he left it out.
He left it out.
this is a detail that
That-
nobody knows.
This is Zorak, this is
also
Jan
But the
Zwartendijk.
The Dutchman.
left out that pasuk,
Yeah.
which says up to the governor.
It was also De Decker. He was the ambassador in Riga.
What
and
was the name?
De Decker. He was the ambassador in Riga. That they first asked him, and he said, "You don't need visas." It was Goodrich, Nathan Goodrich. He asked.
Goodwill.
He had a Polish wife, and
So
they
what
wanted
did
to
he
know.
say? What did he
He
do?
said, "You don't need visas to go to Curaçao. You
Yeah,
don't need.
right.
But you do need the permission of the governor."
Permission of the
And they
governor.
say Zorak Verhaftig was the one that said, you must ask him to leave it out, that sentence. And he asked, they went to Jan Zwartendijk, and he did it. He actually did
There
it.
are so many
Yeah,
pieces
James
of this
Yeah, he
puzzle.
was amazing because he was
So
also
many
such an
pieces
incredible
to this
person.
puzzle.
He actually was representative of Philips. He wasn't
Yeah.
even
He was, yeah, that's real.
What was he?
He was a representative of Philips.
Philips Electric Company.
He was like an honorary consul
Oh,
in
really?
in
He wasn't an
Kovno.
official
No, he was a representative of
No,
Philips.
the Dutch consul left because the Holland was already conquered.
Mhm.
So he took over whatever the consul gave him. And he was representing Holland, which was already
As
occupied by the
though,
Nazis.
yeah.
At Kiryat Noah, they made a memorial for
For him?
Jan Zwartendijk, yeah. And they had his son come. It's a
Ganor
big thing.
too, they made a memorial.
We really should go soon.
This is amazing. Rav and
Yeah,
Rebbetzin,
yes, sir.
what can we say to
The only thing you can say is that I want this film.
Oh, that's with the greatest pleasure. But Sonny, how does it feel knowing that what you did saved, you have somebody here that your actions saved our great Rav
Yeah.
and thousands others.
And he's a rabbi of thousands of students all around the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Thousands.
He's the rabbi. I'm the assistant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The Mir Yeshiva is the biggest yeshiva in the world nowadays.
My husband studied in the Mir Yeshiva for many years here in Jerusalem. No, in Yerushalayim. The Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir Yeshiva from Shanghai was a very close friend of my husband's father, and my husband was a student of his. And what shall we say? We went back to Shanghai a few years ago.
Really? We had a
A reunion.
government delegation. Thank you delegation. Yeah, that's our history. I became son because of some stupid invitation. I became.
Look at that. You never know
No, you did
what
chesed. It was
zchuyot you have.
Haknasat Orchim. It was
I
amazing.
talk about it every year, this story.
Right. In the classes to my
On
husband's
Hanukkah,
student
I tell
on
them
Hanukkah.
a
he said.
small deed into.
About another miracle of Hanukkah.
That's right.
Another miracle of Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You mentioned it to the boys.
Not 2,000 years ago. I write it in my Facebook.
Oh yeah?
I
I don't know how to do face.
Miracle in Hanukkah.
At 90, it's amazing.
When I
90
was
years
8
young.
years old,
What?
when I was 8 years old, I got my citizenship, American. My mother sent me to school, and after school I went to the court.
With
She
your
said,
father?
Chaim can't, keep yourself clean, don't play, you have to go to the court, be clean. I promise you, your picture will be in all the papers. She said it's like an American way of persuasion. But the next day the neighbor called, Rabbi Walkin, buy the New York Times. You see a picture of your son. Front page.
8 years old, yeah. Signing citizenship papers. There happened to be a photographer there and took a picture of your father and you signing the citizenship. And it says, Chaim Walkin with his father, Rabbi Shmuel Walkin, Samuel Walkin, born in China, signing his citizenship.
Chaim now lives in Brooklyn. The name is Walkin.
Walkin.
Walkin. Walkin with an L.
With an L.
Balkin. Because I have somebody called Balkin on my Facebook writing to me.
Balkin?
Balkin.
Not the same.
And-
University.
And Rav, you mentioned that the whole nace of the Mir, you showed that it was written that the nace of the Mir is comparable to Purim.
To Purim.
Purim. More than Purim.
More
More
than-
miracles in Shanghai than there were in Purim. I was written.
It's,
Yes, there's pictures I want to show them. It's on the table.
Okay.
No, not everything.
It's in a envelope, white envelope.
when are you going?
You're
A
just
real
waiting.
just went in.
Yeah, there.
Just waiting.
I mean, these are the stamps we showed you from Mozambique that I came studying. This is, can you believe it, stamps of Sugihara from Mozambique? Sorry, you kept the stamps? I'm so... From Mozambique to do stamps of Sugihara with the Magen David.
Guess who that is?
You?
Akadavich. Chativa Sheva. I was in 7th Brigade.
My father was in the Haganah here.
Yeah. I was in the armed brigade. And this is a picture
of how the Lithuanians are murdering the Jews in the town.
Sally can
Did
turn.
you see that?
It's terrible.
I showed it on my
On
Facebook
Facebook.
for everybody to see what the Lithuanians did.
Sally, you said it was harder to go to Lithuania than it was to Germany.
The Germans.
One second.
Okay.
These are my friends who survived.
It's amazing.
But they're all dead now. And this is what I wanted to tell you about Kaufering.
What about it?
Look what I did in Kaufering.
Put up the flag.
Sally, if
Put
we
up the
can.
flag.
You took the
That's amazing. Yeah. It's special.
You know, when I said to the Germans, Hitler made us wear the Magen David as a symbol of shame, and now I'm putting it up as a symbol of pride.
That's
And the
right.
German newspapers wrote it.
Very good.
Sure. Sally, thank you so much. Sally, who is in the picture?
And my friend David Granat, he's right after the liberation.
This is how it's baby.
That's my father.
Who is this?
My father. In the Bolshevik Revolution.
Sure.
Your father?
My father. In the Russian Revolution.
Sorry. Deborah, I can't speak now. I'm sorry.
Sally, these were the.
And here's a picture
Okay.
of the captain.
Okay.
And my
Okay.
picture of the captain.
Let's put it to
Okay.
the.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
And there's another one.
And here's a picture of me in the American Army.
You were in the American Army too?
In Germany.
Oh, in Germany?
After the war, I was drafted into the American Army because I knew English and languages.
Really? So you knew English already before the war?
I landed in a ghetto
In the ghetto?
Yeah.
English?
with a woman from London.
Really?
Yeah.
He learns easy languages.
So, sorry, which armies? You were in the Israeli army and the American army?
What is your first name?
Paula,
Paula.
Nina.
This is a
Nina?
picture.
That's of me in Syria. On the border.
On the border.
See the machine gun, look at the machine gun. That's a German machine gun.
Where?
They had a swastika on
Unbelievable. It had a swastika on
it.
it.
They had a swastika. Every time I looked, they were shooting at the Arabs.
Where
so
did
it's
you
no
see
swastika.
that? What is that? Where was this?
This was on the Syrian border.
When?
This was in
1948.
48. Sally actually came here. Your father had a visa to go to Canada and you decided to come here.
Come here, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's me in the American Army.
Paula, your husband was a very handsome man. Still he's very handsome. Still is.
Because of
This
his
was
faith.
after the war.
Wow. This is the famous picture that is in.
Yeah, that's in
This is the famous picture that is in. This is Sugihara's.
Sugihara.
Yes, the pictures history.
Yeah. Well, a little history.
And Sally, would you have thought one day that there'd be stamps made in Lithuania of Sugihara
Yeah.
And then he would be from Mozambique and Somali then. It's unbelievable, Somali. It stems from Somali. Tzvi, you have one of these. But from Mozambique, it's unbelievable.
Last, this is from Berlin.
That was from Berlin.
You know, they have the biggest Holocaust center in the world is in Berlin.
And they invited you. That was...
They invited me to speak now.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, history.
And how do you feel? Today is Yom Yerushalayim. It's still Yom Yerushalayim. To think the miracle.
Hallelujah.
It's a miracle. There's so many
Miracle.
miracles.
Well,
אולי תשתה משהו ותפסיק
Holly, you are amazing.
listen. When I came here in 48, there were only 600,000 Jews.
Yeah.
Only 600,000 of us. Today, Baruch Hashem, we are already 6 billion. So
There's more than 6
the
million.
more they're
Yeah.
attacking us, the more we are growing.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
הרב אומר שנמצא בחוץ, הוא רק רוצה קצת אוויר, זה הכל. כן?
אמרנו בסדר.
בסדר? בחוץ, רק נשאר.
Sally and Mrs. Penina, I want you to have this book. אני לא יודעת, בשבילי, for me it's very hard to read my own father's writings, but it's, my father wrote his memoirs from the day the war broke out until the day of his liberation. He wrote it when I was a child. This was in the 50s, the 1950s. And then he locked it in his desk drawer. Nobody knew about it. And we found the writings, his manuscript, papers like this, after he passed away in 2004.
So when did you have it published?
So my youngest son worked on publishing this for the past 7 years. He did research. He wanted to make sure that all the facts were accurate, and he put in pictures, worked on it, and he presented it to us on our 50th wedding anniversary this Hanukkah. He presented it to us, and it was just published a few months ago. And the Kofrin connection here,
What language did you write?
Hebrew.
In Hebrew?
He came from Poland after the war, after all the camps. He came to Eretz Israel. My mother's family came here before the war. And they got married here. And I was born here. And then my parents moved to America. And we moved to America and I grew up there.
I see.
So I think you will find some connection to the experiences that he had, and we all have to share our stories because it's all a different part of the survival.
In other words, just want some air.
הוא השאיר תה, יש לו קצת תה, אולי תיתן לו את התה.
הוא לא רצה, he just wanted to have some air.
I don't know if there's air out there.
Good,
It's very humid in Ramat Ashar. Yerushalayim was so cold I came with a jacket.
I'm also going to...
Always Jerusalem is always cold, much cold.
Which picture is this?
That's the guy who saved my life.
Where?
Probably your father too.
Who is this?
He's the American Japanese soldier who dug us up.
I don't see that he's Japanese in this picture.
He's
It's hard to
blurry.
see. It's a little blurry.
Matsamura.
It's enlarged, that's
It's
why
enlarged,
it's
yeah.
blurry.
Lawrence Matsamura.
And he's the one that dug you from the snow when you were in the death march.
Right. That's in Munich in 1945.
He was already buried with
It's not far from Innsbruck, Munich, you
Not
know that?
far.
No,
That was in
it's on the same road. We went to, when we were in Austria, we went to the place where my father was befreit, where he was liberated, and we went along the same path that he went, It was very touching, you know. He described in the book a certain Machanet Tzva'i, army camp.
I know
It's
this.
still there. It's still there. Oh, what is this? Your parents?
That's my parents.
Beautiful. Capo.
Yeah. I was.
What
Before-
Hitler did. What he did.
Yeah, he was a
What
very
he
good-
did.
יימח שמו בזכרו.
Amen.
He died 70 something.
Sorry, we just wanted to understand, in the Hanukkah party, he wanted to know from, like, first count, he wanted to know from the people what was happening in Poland. That's how it,
Your guests who were refugees.
Rosenthal.
yeah, Rosenthal,
They talked about what
the
they
experiences.
and
Yes.
he was
So that's why
listening.
he was-
listening.
That's why. No, he wanted to hear from local people. He just came from Finland, and then it was the first acquaintance with the Jewish people altogether.
All together.
No, he knew Jewish people when he was studying Russian in that was not Afghanistan.
He was in, it was part of China that was
Yeah, China.
Harbin.
Harbin. There was
Studied in Harbin.
Right.
occupied by Japan.
There were
Yeah.
Jews
Yeah.
there. But you know, interestingly,
Have some
in
fruit.
Harbin they did not know about the war. It did not touch them, the Second World War.
Din.
No, nothing.
Shake it.
It's interesting.
So he wanted to hear from them what was happening.
So he wanted to hear. And it was the first time that
Can
he
I give you?
wanted to get some intelligence.
Can I give you a little?
And the Rosenthal told them. But he already knew about what he was telling
Because he heard from his spies.
his spies. Yeah, he was. His son told me that I was actually an intelligence officer.
Mhm.
He actually saved Polish as well. He gave also visas for Polish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He-
It's not well known, but he did.
So he was
Polish from where?
like the resistance.
How
Sugihara.
did he
helped
do
him.
that? Where did they come to him? How did they find him?
There's something that you people may not know, but he was instrumental to get visas going to Russia.
Because he spoke
Yeah,
Russian.
He
yeah.
spoke Russian and he was in contact with the Russian consul.
Right, and he told the Russian consul, I read this in the book that you gave us. He asked him to please make an allowance to allow the Jews to go through Russia.
No, he bribed him.
He bribed him.
There was some money from the American Jewish Committee.
Really?
Yeah.
So Sugihara had arranged with him to allow the Jews,
The Jews
to
go
go
to
through.
Russia. That was the main point.
No.
Otherwise, the visas, they couldn't use the visas.
Yeah.
We're talking about going
Right is there.
from Lithuania to Vladivostok. That's
2 weeks,
thousands
2
of
weeks on the
miles.
train.
Yeah.
I mean, my sister-in-law remembers it.
Yeah, he
Remembers the 2-week trip on the
He was
train.
a real tzaddik in Sugihara.
Sugihara.
Not only gave visas, but he also helped to get a passage to Russia.
Mhm. But it seems that after the war, he had no idea if his visas really saved anybody.
Yeah.
He didn't know if they were used at all.
That's right.
Mrs. Sugihara continued later and he came to New York and they made a big reception.
Yes, you were talking about it.
Yeah,
the town.
we said it.
And you know there
We
was,
knew about it. We knew some. My husband's family. My husband's father was a Rav before the war in Poland,
yeah,
and then in Shanghai, there were families. There were many single boys from the yeshiva, and their house was like the meeting place. They would always come to my in-laws, and they would be their parents, surrogate parents during the war. And after the war, their house continued to be the center for many of the survivors from Shanghai who were in New York. He had a shul, my father-in-law. He was a Rabbi. He had a whole community. And their house was the center meeting point of all the Shanghaiers, the Shanghaiers in their home. And they were always, it was family. It was family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking that if Sugihara, that he was a Japanese consul, knew what was happening to the Jews in Poland because he had spies, so it means that a lot of other consuls of different other countries knew the same, because they also were spying for their countries,
Sure.
and they did nothing.
They did nothing.
That means all their countries knew about it. They knew exactly what was happening, because they all had people, they all knew what was going on behind the lines,
That's right.
Yeah.
and they did nothing. And he
He was such a foreigner. To him, this whole thing was foreign, Jews. You know.
he knew nothing about them.
You know,
The
30 million,
The story of the Japanese commissioner in Kobe is well known. He wanted to talk to the Jews and get to know them. And there was a delegation that came to speak with him. He ordered them to come. One of the big rebbes, the Amshin of a rebbe, and another rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Chatzkis, and Dr. Avraham Kachuzi, who was the convert, a Japanese professor who converted to Judaism. And the commissioner asked the Rebbe, why do the Germans hate the Jews?
Yeah.
What did he say? I'm sure you know. What did he say? He goes, they hate the Jews because we're Asians.
Yeah.
And that really got them scared.
But Rebbetzin, you know what they said? Then they said, how do you know it's true? And Amshon of Rabbi was such a worldly person. He said he had read that there was a diplomat that wanted to marry a Japanese, a German diplomat. They wanted to marry a Japanese, and he couldn't get a marriage certificate because they
In
said she was inferior.
Right.
And that, because
And
he
that
was,
really opened their eyes.
and they said you can stay in Kobe.
Actually, it was Eichmann who demanded the Jews back from Kobe.
Right.
And the Japanese, this I must say in their favor, that's why they sent them the
To
Jews to
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Right.
Well, he demanded that they come back.
They were allies.
Yeah, I know.
The
They were allies.
Japanese-
So he wanted to bring back to
You
Europe
know,
to
there's
kill
a
them.
Wanted to take him back to Germany.
There's a
He
book.
said, you are our allies, send us back to the Jews.
There are two books that talk about this. One of them is the Fuju Plan.
Yeah.
Dr. Rabbi Marvin Tokea, my
Yeah.
sister-in-law, just met with him last week.
He was in Tokyo for many years.
He was a
as
rabbi in Tokyo,
Oh,
and
is
he
he?
found these papers in the attic of the shul.
How is he?
Articles.
Oh, is he? Yeah, he's fine. And
I met him.
you did.
Yeah.
So there was a plan, a Japanese, we call it Tochnik Megira, what to do with the Jews. And there was a plan to have tell all the Jews that they're going to bring them to a different place and put them all on boats and sink the boats in the middle of the ocean as though solving their Jewish problem. But the plan became known, and the Jews made a big deal about it. It seemed that somebody overheard a Japanese talking, or somebody talking to somebody else in a bar and telling them, tomorrow there won't be any more Jews here or something.
Wow, it's the middle of turmoil.
They also
This was
wanted-
written in Marvin Tokea's
They
book.
also wanted to have gas chambers in Shanghai.
That I didn't
near the
hear.
very end.
Oh my gosh.
That's what Moscow brother told me.
His brother?
Yeah, Moshe told me that after in Shanghai they had gas chambers
The
that they
Germans
wanted to
bought,
use.
yeah.
That they
Really?
wanted to use for the Jews.
Sorry, this is also, what is,
That was a theater piece of my book in Japan.
In Japan. Have you ever been to Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Quite a few times. They invited me.
It's to
The candle, very
the
beautiful.
candle.
Yeah. Light the candle.
Light the candle.
That was the Japanese theater.
They made a theater. It was good, pretty good.
From the book.
From the book, yeah. That's from Light the Candle, they called it.
When did you start, Sally, to tell your story? At what point did you begin? What was the catalyst that made you start
Well,
telling
number
your story?
one was, I really was bothered that I didn't keep my promise to the children.
I see.
That was,
So when was it? At what point?
actually, I was writing all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Kept a diary
From where? At what
in the
point?
ghetto,
In the ghetto.
but I didn't think of publishing it.
And you had it? You were able to hold on to it all the time?
No, when we came to a concentration camp in
Well,
Germany, I had to throw it away with them.
it's the story of
German.
Eric Shaw.
Yeah, but then the Japanese guys who came, the American Japanese came to Jerusalem
Mhm.
to meet me.
Mhm.
They sort of gave me a push too.
I see. There was a documentary film that was produced that they interviewed you also, which I saw. It was on Sugihara.
PBS.
It was when the
Conspiracy of
Kindness.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
kindness.
yeah. That
And-
was. I remember the interview.
And Martin Gilbert also did one
Yeah,
on
I think
the.
I gave it to you.
I made you a copy, Sonny,
Yeah.
on a DVD. And Martin Gilbert also made a documentary on the Kovna Ghetto.
The Kovna Ghetto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The-
met
The
him.
Ninth Fort.
Ninth Fort. That's
Wow,
right.
what a
Right
terrible.
above the ghetto.
It's when you go there and you think 30,000
I wouldn't be
Yidden.
able to go.
I was there. We were there a year and a half
Do you
ago.
remember the funeral of the Dvar Avram of the Kovnerov? He had a
Shapiro.
funeral of Shapiro. He had a big funeral in the ghetto.
Yeah,
You remember it?
I know he was a friend of my father.
Because he was nifter in the ghetto.
Yes, he was in the ghetto. Actually, I remember there was a question. The Germans called us to make a segregation. We called it to send 10,000 to send to the Ninth Fort. So the Jewish representatives were talking to Rav Shapiro about what to do. So Rav Shapiro told them, if you rise up, everybody's going to be killed.
Not to do that.
Not to do it. Yeah, that's what I
It's
remember
really late.
about Rav Shapiro.
You have you set a beautiful table. Thank you.
But you didn't eat it.
It was just it's so beautiful to look at. Beautiful dishes.
But that's not
Setting.
for looking, that's for eating.
Beautiful.
Come on, have some fruit. You can peel it, you can do what you want.
And these paintings you painted?
Yeah,
I painted that.
Very
you
talented.
can do whatever you say.
I made this menorah,
Oh, let's bring it.
From what? From what?
the menorah.
What is it made from?
Wow.
That's-
What is the
It's all-
material it's made from?
It's from, it's,
That's
no,
all.
What?
it's
It's made from what?
Clay.
from clay.
Clay. A menorah, a Hanukkah story, an
Hanukkah
extension
menorah,
of a
wow.
Hanukkah story.
Wow.
That I did in San Diego.
Here's the menorah. Wow, it's beautiful. Sonny, it really is.
It's a bit different.
So, Sonny, can I ask, when you look at that book, A Passage to Freedom, and inside they tell the story of the little boy that that invited Sugihara for...
Next time I have
Robertson, could you maybe just read the first page? think it's really so amazing.
This is what a copy of what you gave us
Yeah.
too.
But the very first page.
There is a saying that the eyes tell everything about a person. At a store, my father saw a young Jewish boy who didn't have enough money to buy what he wanted. So my father gave the boy some of his. That boy looked into my father's eyes and to thank him, invited my father to his home. That is when my family and I went to a Hanukkah celebration for the first time. I was 5 years old.
Sorry, and that's you. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And this has been written in Japanese, and this is a translation.
Did you see this one?
Yeah, he brought it back.
What is this?
Sorry, no.
Lager Kultur?
That's the Kaufling lager. They made
A Kaufling Lager?
this is cultural Werkstatt Ganor. The Germans made a cultural,
Werkstatt? What does that
Werkstatt.
mean?
that's a place where the children are learning.
This is in German.
This is in German. And they made it in my name.
What is this a picture of?
That's a picture of the camp everywhere.
Robson, can you turn it around? Wow. It's amazing, sure. It's amazing.
Maybe there's some pictures from Kaufling, I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then Sadi over here, but
החלטה של אהבה, סיפורו של שיון סוגיהרה, דיפלומט יליד העיר יאוצ'ו.
and this is the memorial. You were at the memorial.
Yes, sure.
Which
This
memorial?
This is
In
for Sugihara
Japan.
in Japan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mrs. Sugihara invited us.
And you sat next to her.
Sat next to her. She wanted to sit next to us.
You know,
This
she
is
had a
history.
lot to
This
do with
is-
it.
Yeah.
She
of
had a
course.
lot to
She
do
should
with
also
it.
maybe have been Chasidei
Yeah,
Matola.
she should have.
Because she encouraged her husband also to do the
Absolutely.
visas. Yeah.
Without her encouragement.
This is the famous picture
Yeah.
that the sister took.
The sister from the window.
From the window. Yukika's sister took the picture of the Yidden outside the consulate.
That's right.
And this is when the Israeli government, they did a very nice thing. When he didn't have, they came to him and they said, we want to pay you. And he said, I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it to get a reward. And then they gave the son, the youngest son, a bursary at Hebrew University. Buki. He got a
A
bursary.
what?
The Israeli government granted a bursary to the youngest son.
A bursary? What's a bursary?
That he didn't have to pay anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
To study at the
the Israeli
university?
government gave it and he studied at Hebrew
Jerusalem
University.
University.
The Hebrew University in Yerushalayim.
Wow, in Berlin 1940, ברקע נראה שער ברנדנבורג.
אתה רוצה משהו, איזה פרי?
We really have to move.
Yeah. Well, it's been,
We can't overstay our
Sadi,
welcome.
it's been, and Paula, it's always a pleasure to see you both. These are the greatest
This has
heroes.
been-
You amaze me.
Wow. Paula, I love you both. We do. My wife said
You know
to
what my
me,
husband said? What my husband said after you left? It's so interesting. He was saying, you know, you heard about Shanghai, you heard about Sugihara, you heard about the whole story, and it ignited a
Sure.
fire under
Yes,
you
that's
to
for
do
sure.
something.
Yeah.
And he says, he compared how it said in the Chumash about how Yitro came to Klal Yisrael to be part of Klal Yisrael. He heard about Matan Torah, but the whole world heard about it too. But who else came? Somebody heard it, really.
But when you meet, who wouldn't? Who?
Can you put me a little bit of water in?
The two of us can't lift anything.
Yeah, it's getting heavy.
We really have to go.
Cake or something.
No,
You keep him slim.
Well,
try
it
to.
was an honor to have you here.
Thank you. We still have a bar mitzvah here in Ramata Shalom.
What time?
So we're gonna.
Rebbetzin, I just want to say one thing. What you said about your husband, that he is sitting here thanks to what Sally did, that is
In a nutshell.
there's just no words to describe, because that's the MS, it really is, and
In a nutshell, yeah.
it's such a schut, it really is.
Yeah.
Sure. So I just want to thank you for your valuable time, for always opening your home, and true, what can we say, Rebbetzin? These are the true heroes of Am Yisrael.
Very, very,
Very special.
precious people.
We love us.
Should just be gesund with all Hashem's blessings, and
I'm glad I did my part.
He's supposed to write my book yet, but he has time.
Okay, you could start.
Yeah.
He's so busy on the Facebook all the time. Every night he's writing to.
I said, I just want to mention one thing. Sally, you wrote on Facebook, Vehisha Amda.
Yeah.
You want to just say a little bit what you wrote? It was very special what you wrote about Vehisha Amda.
I like to look what I wrote, I don't remember.
It was Vehisha Amda, Sally wrote on Facebook, and you said if only we had our state 10 years before, my mother and my brother would have been alive.
Yeah.
But Bechol Devar Dor Amdu Aleinu, and look, and we survived. And we see the results. We see your husband survived, and Torah's flourished. Yeah, it's very special.
Yeah.
And the Torah has flourished as a result
Yeah.
of Shanghai and Sugihara.
Yeah.
Because everything was destroyed in the war. All the yeshivot and all the people were murdered, and this Torah was officially destroyed. And this seed of Torah that was preserved in Shanghai in its entirety, the yeshiva, was actually held on to the Torah and was then. The whole world's Torah today is as a result of that.
I remember in New York, when we were with Mr. Sugihara at the time, and a little boy came up with flowers. He said, Mr. Sugihara, I was sitting next to her. Here are some flowers, and I'm alive because of your husband, and now there's 40,000 of us alive because of you.
Right? That is
was
correct.
And every year it gets more. Every year it gets more.
That was,
Don't worry.
Thank you so much.
It's unbelievable what how think that she's from Poland, my family, and I too.
Also from Lodge,
Yeah, and Lodge, and we sit here together.
right?
And listen, and they blow.
This shidduch would never happen before the
No.
war.
No.
Never. No, Lodge and Lita would have never met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And all thanks to him.
No, not at all, not at
I
all.
mean, he has energy.
I'm saying my wife. My wife, she encourages me tremendously.
Kolakamo.
She sends her love. But thank you so
And
much.
Very
he
beautiful.
can walk for almost a year and a half. We didn't leave the house.
thank you. Yeah, because I broke my shin bone.
It was good of this.
So I had an operation, now I'm difficulty walking.
But next,
Yeah.
You'll recover completely.
on the
very soon, hopefully.
18th is his birthday.
When?
18th of May.
18th of May
It's
is
soon,
birthday.
it's soon.
I'm writing now on the Facebook that May is the most important month of my life. Because I was born in May,
And you were liberated.
I was liberated on the 2nd of May, and Hitler was buried in the Germans capitulated, collapsed on the 8th of May.
Right?
So these are three most important events.
Exactly. My father was also liberated, obviously, in May.
Yeah. 2nd of May.
I don't know which day in May. It was Lag BaOmer, he writes. It was Lag BaOmer, but I don't know what day it was in May.
Yeah. So next week we make him a birthday.
Beautiful.
Like Bahama also had something to do with it.
What?
And my daughter.
I was a soldier in, that captured back the tomb of Rabbi Mir Yeshiva
You
in
can.
Iran.
Wow.
You saw the picture of me in Chatiba Sheva.
Yeah.
We captured back the tomb.
Wow.
And we all,
That is coming full circle.
I almost got killed there.
They send
I got a
it.
bullet past my eyes. I couldn't
Really?
see for a few minutes. I was sitting, I thought I'm blind.
Really?
Yeah, the Arab shot at me when we were trying to capture the tomb. So,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Let me see where my husband is.
Thank you
This
so
beautiful
much.
apartment.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So lichtig.
Wow.
Look at this.
Does-
My husband's staying here. He's enjoying the
Paula and Sadi, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Toen kan je geen weg naar bieden.
Ja.
Tijere brieden, tijere schwester, lammdag bieden zijn. Lammdag bieden zijn. Als God het geven gezond, dan kan je geen weg naar bieden zijn.
Wie zou je letzte lied tussen Jiddisch?
He grew up on it. What do you mean?
No, it's a...
Really?
The lied tussen Jiddisch.
He grew up on it. They spoke Yiddish at home.
Yeah, but they say there's a...
Accent.
Litvish. No, Litvish.
Litvish, yeah, sure, I know.
Litvish.
Because I speak like him too.
Yeah.
Ik speak the same language. It's a pleasure, Sally.
It was
Ik ben
a
heel
pleasure.
buiten het gezond.
Nachts.
Nachts.
Nachts van de kinderen van de ene klas.
No, הם לא היינו קלח.
תלמידים.
יש לנו היינו קלח,
סטודנט.
ברוך השם.
סטודנט.
יש לנו.
We have one granddaughter, two Heineken, three.
Beautiful.
People who have changed the course of history coming along as well.
Yeah, just happened at the right time in the right place.
That's what history is all about.
מגלגלים זכות על ידי זכאי.
נכון.
זה לא סתם.
Okay, come.
It's so easy.
אז תודה רבה.
Yeah.
תודה רבה.
Have a good night. Thank you.
you
We
so
made
much.
you such a balagan.
Don't worry about it.
It was a
It
pleasure.
was a pleasure.
You have help in the house?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have everything. You didn't
Yeah,
get telephone, glasses.
The telephone I have, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
תודה רבה. Thank you.
Sally, thank you so much. Thank you, Sally.
If you're in Yerushalayim, we'd love to see you.
Sally, thank you so much as always. Oh, Sally, you're amazing.
So don't forget to send it to this show.
With a pleasure.
עשה שנייה תמונה רבני.
We're waiting for you.
Gesungen.
You want to stand next to the rabbi?
Yeah.
And I'll go in. So I'll just have a...
That's the first.
Yeah,
18.
Just do one video.
where will I stand?
Come, let's move down a little bit this way so there's room. And then Zvi, you can stand next to him.
יש לך את
Come
הפלאפון?
down a little bit. Very nice. Okay, Lamer Gain, Alan.
Is there another shir to do together? Rabbi, another shir from Chaim?
Send me the pictures because
Yeah.
Jewish
Ariel,
people
איפה האחווה?
Send it tonight.
Send it tonight so I can give them.
You still paint?
No.
You still paint? Sally still paints?
No, I write my poem.
Fourth book. What is it about?
It's about my father. It's part of my revolution.
Really?
Everything but my book.
You
Well, I
will
mean,
come
you
next.
He thinks I will be 100.